We are just about to introduce the Chamber of Commerce and Susie Everett, the staff at Everett. It's a moment you all are waiting for. Yesterday at the Chamber breakfast and lunch, you know that somebody's going to get the use of a car for a year. We're going to ask you to please, quiet, and please find your seats. Thank you very much. Isn't it amazing how you ask your students to do this every day? Be a little quiet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our annual kickoff. This time it's the 2017-2018 academic year. And before we start our actual ceremony, we have a moment that many of you have been waiting for. One person in particular has been waiting for after the breakfast and the lunch yesterday. So we're going to turn it over to Bill Rogers from the Chamber of Commerce.
Over $65,000 was given away to teachers yesterday by members of the Springdale Chamber, so could you give them a round of applause again? We are fortunate to have Dwight and Susie Everett. Susie, I know you've got a big initiative that's for the company. If you say a word, and we'll let them know who our 10 finalists are.
All right. Well, now you got to put up with me for just a minute because I got to say just a little bit because we're doing this campaign about being a professional, and that's what I just want to thank y'all. We appreciate the teachers. We appreciate, it's all the staff that make a school special, and each one is important. So again, we appreciate y'all and thank you for what you do, and I hope we can maintain all this excitement even toward Christmas. So thanks a lot. We're doing the campaign about being a professional, being a pro. And for me, it's whatever I do, I want to do it to the best of my ability and to please the Lord and to do to others what I would like them to do to me. And then what God has given me, to be a good steward with what He's been given. And that's what y'all do. You're good stewards with your education and what you pass on, and you're what makes our future. So we thank you. You're committed to the students, and we thank you so much. And I wanted to remind you, and this is just a special thing because, it's probably been about 12 years ago that we lost a child in Saline County from a school bus accident, and I always think of that. And when we do this flashing red, kids ahead. So as you're in your classroom, promote with your kids so they can make their parents aware. Again, the flashing red, kids ahead, that they stop for those kids. And so if we all work together and we save a life, it's going to be worth it.
Susie, we drew 5 names yesterday morning, 5 names yesterday afternoon, and teachers from these schools went home not knowing who's on the list until right now. Are you ready? From Kelly Middle, these are finalists. Then we'll draw. Don't think you're all going home with a new car.
That's not fair. You're going to think. It's hard.
Finalists are Kelly Middle, Julie Breen. From Southwest Junior High, Joan Threet. From Har-BER High, Brett Unger. From Archer, Rayana Parmain. From Hellstern Middle, Patricia Spear. From Biari Elementary, Connie Neely. From George Elementary, Casey Abernathy. From Shaw Elementary, Amber Tinsley. From Parson Hills Elementary, C. Michelle Thornhill. And from Walker Elementary, Alicia McClure. 10 and only 10 names. They're your names. Do the honors.
Oh, me. Okay, this is it. We need a drum roll. Parson Hills Elementary, Michelle Thornhill.
Come on down real quick. Hurry down. Here she is. Hurry, hurry. Here she comes. Would you like to come up with a photo?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Who wants you in this photo with her? Oh, okay.
I want you to know this is the main silent partner, my husband Dwight. So he's the one that makes all this stuff happen. So thank you.
Oh, that makes my headache better.
You came.
Yes. I was walking slow to get in here.
Come move right up here. Move up real quick. Move up here.
Thank you, Dr. Rollins. Thank you.
She wants the Jeep, just let you know.
Well, that's a great way to start your day, isn't it? Thank you to the people at Everett. Thank you for all the people that gave the gifts yesterday. And it is now time to kick off the coming school year. Just think about it. We're all here today, and all the kids will be here Monday. We look forward to that. We're now going to start with our opening ceremonies. The presentation of colors will come from the Springdale High School FFA. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from the Springdale High School FFA, which will be followed by the National Anthem with the Superintendent's Choir with representatives from 13 of our 31 schools in the district. Ladies and gentlemen, the presentation of the colors.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
The great calling of the public schools is to teach all children. Our very future as an educational community turns on our willingness to adjust how we deliver instruction, to reorganize, if you will, to better connect all kids to the
Where
learning.
the heck is K? But you have to find H for you.
Right, so you have to find A.
The Springdale School District has been the fastest growing district in Arkansas for the last 20 plus years. In a district like ours, where we've been growing immensely for a number of years, people relocated here, a cultural transition, language was a barrier, but really just understanding how the local society works. So many of those families felt alone and isolated and just weren't sure in the early days of moving to a new area how they would fit into the local culture. Family literacy very quickly came to the forefront.
Let's read the example.
I have here in the Springdale 12 years. I have 4 children. I come to class because it's necessary to learn English. I help to my child with the homework every night. Was time on the hospital, my child was sick and don't have interpreter. The doctor told me, your child needs operation because he has appendicitis. The next week, I say, I need more English for my children, for me, but for most for my child.
4 days a week, 4 hours a day, moms and dads are invited to come into the school, sit right at the table with their child. What a beautiful experience that is to see immigrant families working with their children, learning to read together, learning the language together. And here we are now, 13, 14 years later. Today we have family literacy initiatives in 16 of our schools. We live in an age of transition, without question. As fundamental as this sounds, it's absolutely essential. You keep your focus on the needs of each and every child. And whatever differences might exist, and they do exist, if you can make service to those children a priority, you have a chance to be a part of something that's bigger than any of us, and that is service to all children. All means all. All means all. The staff, one of our great partners, Ms. Michaela Barroso. Thanks for being here with us tonight. I want to play one other video here this morning for you to help us give set to the great partnerships, to the great opportunities, to the great blessings that we have to live and serve in the Springdale school system and in this great land we call America. This is the wonderful video by Willie Nelson, Living in the Promised Land.
Give us your tired and weak, and we will make them strong. Bring us your far-run songs, and we will sing along. Leave us your broken dreams, we'll give them time to mend. There's still a lot of love living in the promised land. Living in the promised land. Our dreams are made of steel. The prayer of every man is to know how freedom feels. There is a winding road across the shifting sand, and room for everyone living in the promised land. So they came from the distant isle, nameless woman, faithless child, like a bad dream. Until there was no room at all, no place to run, and no place to fall. Give us your daily bread. We have no shoes to wear, no place to call our home, only this cross to bear. We are the multitudes, lend us a helping hand. Is there no love anymore, living in the promised land? Are made of steel. The prayer of every man is to know how freedom feels. There is a winding road across the shifting sand, and room for everyone living in the promised land, and room for everyone living in the promised land.
Can we bring the lights up? I've got to see their eyes here this morning. The public school, America's greatest invention. All of us have the great privilege, the privilege of a lifetime, really, to work and serve in the public schools. Here, we don't build walls. Here, we teach them all. In just a few moments, some of our greatest teachers are going to join me on the stage, and we're just going to talk school for a few minutes. But before I do that, I feel a personal obligation to continue to build on what we talked about yesterday, and frankly, what you've been doing for years and years. It is a process. We have almost 200 new teachers who are joining us here today. And if you're a new teacher, please stand and let us welcome you one more time. In my opinion, you're joining the best school district in America. The men and women in this audience today have created the program that we know as the Springdale Schools. That's the great program that you're joining. In both the elementary and in the secondary sessions yesterday, I asked the simple question: do we all understand that we have to get better? We have to get better as teachers. We have to get better as the superintendent of schools. We have to get better as a team. In both sessions, every individual in the room stood. I thank you for that. Would you recognize that commitment to get better with your applause? If we get better, our work gets better, we serve our children better. And that's what we're about, and that's what we were all acknowledging yesterday. I'm going to go through some points for reflection. As you know, I could take the biggest part of the day and maybe tomorrow if I had an opportunity to just elaborate on these points. But I want you to be thoughtful about it. I know you're already thinking about it. But under this umbrella of getting better comes the question, well, how do we do that? I'm satisfied that today and tomorrow and in the days ahead, we'll figure that out together. That's what we've always done. As I've said to you so many times, we may not have all the answers. We don't even anticipate that we do. But here's what I believe. If this team makes a commitment to address those questions, those how to get better, we'll figure it out. That's the confidence that I have in each of you. So let's quickly trace these points. I want you to be very thoughtful about the work that we've done regarding authentic literacy, authentic numeracy, the social well-being of our children. Those are things that we've talked about and addressed together. We'll talk more about it in just a few moments. I want to move quickly. We've built a stairway to educational excellence, and I won't go through all the rungs. But you know we started with the focus on teaching all children. We continue to live that today. In the last 5 years, we've moved to this idea of innovation and personalizing teaching and learning. My hope is that will be the lens that you look at your work. As you visit with your team and work in the professional learning community models, that will be the talk of the school. I want you to think about the learning continuum that we've all been a part of, and I'm going back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But for so long in our work, the teacher was the deliverer of instruction. That's not being dismissed. It's still an integral part of the process. But there are other parts of it that we've learned about in our efforts to stretch and grow and get better. This idea of the teacher working side by side with the student, addressing the learning of the day, modeling, looking at guided practice, all of that's wonderful. The third piece of that learning continuum, as we all know, is independent practice, getting our children more in charge of their own learning. You've worked diligently at that for a long time, and especially in the last year or so, we've seen this educationese term of student agency and student voice come to the table, and you've given definition to that as you prepared your students to talk with their own parents in student-led conferences where kids really can demonstrate they understand where they are, they see the gaps, they see the growth areas. That's the independent practice that we're looking for. We borrowed heavily from Dr. Seuss. So powerful. It's better to know how to learn. It's better to know how to learn than to know. And then we shared this quote yesterday from a British colleague, Eric Heffer. And he said, in a rapidly changing, often unpredictable world, knowing how to learn, being committed to being one's own teacher, and anticipating the need to learn are core skills successful citizens and workers must possess. In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. Points for reflection. These are some things that you have shown me so beautifully over the last years. and you really put into the work the books and what our theorists who were forward thinkers have helped us all grow toward. But this idea of authentic engagement is critical to our work, as opposed to children coming and sitting quietly. Dr. Bridgeforth told me this morning as we talked, maybe the message to send in regard to our immigrant children, those who are learning the new language, is to make sure every day that those children are engaged in academic talk, academic conversation. She said clearly, if they can't talk about it, they probably can't read about it, and they probably can't write about it. So be thoughtful about that, getting our children talking in academic language. Application, application, application is the key to meaningful learning. What the world is interested in is what our kids can do with the learning. And then as Hattie talked to us in his research so eloquently, teachers believing themselves that the children can learn the objective of the class, and having the skill and the art and the love and the patience to make sure of those children believe that they can accomplish the learning. How powerful can that be? Think of that hallway conversation that I've related to you so often. A caring teacher talking with a distraught child about the fact they had not acquired the learning of the day. The child really upset about it all. And what did the teacher say? You can do this. I will help you. Will you recognize that with your applause? So what does this personalized learning model look like? We have 23,000 kids. We're the second largest district in our state. And all the pluses and all the challenges that go along with that. But each child is treated as a unique individual. And his or her education begins with the development of a personal education plan. Now, do we know how to do all those things just yet? We know how to do a lot of it. We'll learn more in the days ahead. The child is assessed in each subject to be taught. And based on the assessments, an integrated lesson plan are developed that build on what the child already knows with instructional strategies designed for his or her ability. Instruction will always build on the child's existing knowledge, but I want you to be thoughtful about the power of this slogan. Anytime, any place, any pace learning is obviously what we want to get at. We want children learning wherever they might be, and then taking advantage of the great technologies that we have at hand to help introduce the world to them through their learning. Some children will advance very quickly, others will need more time. The high school diploma in this look down the road, in essence, is a competency-based certificate rather than a completion diploma based on seat time. Together, we're going to define the essential learnings in each of our class. We're going to create an assessment system where we can determine credibly whether a child has really acquired those learnings. And when they do, that will allow them to move on to their next class, their next set of learnings, etc. That's the hope that lies behind our School of Innovation. Children acquiring a high school diploma, and at the same time, having those experiences that allow them to earn the associate's degree or accumulate hours toward an advanced diploma. If you think that's futuristic, if you think that's in the right direction, please recognize that with your applause. Well, here's what we know. The educational tools that make all of that possible are available to us in this school district right now. Rules and laws that are impediments, that are long vested in legislative action, have to be waived. They have to be adjusted. Our staff, many of you in the room today have been integral players in that. Waivers have been attained that allows us to open those doors for personalization. Clearly, all of us have to be learners ourselves. We have to build our capacity to understand a new delivery system. And those are the things that we can talk and we'll talk together about how to do that. And then we have to get parents ready to deal with a new culture. You've been invested in that the last year or so, again, as we have given more and more student voice, students more and more control of their own learning. Each child will progress at all times at the pace appropriate for his or her ability. Some children will be able to graduate from high school at an earlier age or earn dual credit that we've already talked about. It has been our history as a school district to be willing to reorganize when we believed that that better served our children. That's what we will be about today and tomorrow and in the days ahead as we continue to try to take this school district forward. Again, if you embrace that, please show that with your applause. All we need to do is get it right. There'll be ups and downs. There'll be pushes and pulls. There'll be days of celebration. There'll be days when we need to regroup and try again. That's just the nature of our work. And that is what has made this school system great over time. Let me invite representative teachers from our district to come out and join me. And Mr. Justin Minkel, one of our most distinguished teachers, will kind of be the moderator of our conversations today. I may have some salient thoughts in response to their great questions, or I may pop it up. But if I do, you'll help me, I know. Justin, we ready to go?
All right. Hi, everybody. This auditorium is filled with some of the best teachers in the entire country. And I know that every single one of you does whatever it will take to make sure every child in our care gets the chance to live the life that she or he dreams. So today we've got 6 of those great educators here. I'm just going to introduce them one at a time, and they have questions for Dr. Rollins. We're going to start today with Joelle Brown, soon to be Dr. Joelle Brown from HAR-BER High.
Thank you. Good morning. I teach debate and oral communication at HAR-BER High School. Dr. Rollins, my question deals with the fact that our population, our demographic is changing very quickly in our school district. And what is Springdale's plan and resources that it's going to put in action to close the achievement gap for our growing minority populations?
Well, let me start with a foundation. Let me say again, I think what I just said to you. We have to have great teachers in every classroom every day. We have to have great building principals who believe that collectively, when we look at our kids, the needs of our kids, that we, through our PLCs, will bring a plan forward to get at the needs of each and every child. Our commitment from the heart, passionately, is to teach all children. We have to continue to build a strong curriculum across every aspect of our school system, starting with pre-K right through graduation, to build partnerships all along the way like we've seen really on exhibition here yesterday and today. I want to come back to the work, and this will be a stretch for you, but when I sat where you have sat for all the years, one of my great teachers was Dr. Lizotte. Dr. Lizotte spawned great teachers just like in front of me today, Mike Smoker being one of those. His great book, Focus, he talked about authentic literacy and authentic numeracy. Whatever we do as a system, I hope it will always be built on that foundation. Purposeful teaching and learning every day. Really, the clear objective, the anticipatory set, the teacher modeling and demonstrating the essence of the lesson itself. And then us being willing to move through our assessment processes in terms of how the children are doing to prepare them to be independent learners. Now there's so many pieces to that. And when you look at the staircase that y'all, I expect, as you've seen many times, if not, you'll see it in our presentation today, we're continuously building toward personalized learning. The idea being to better connect each student to the learning through the way we do our work. And so I think, and I believe, that the essence of the personalized learning approach gives us our best chance to engage the students, to better connect them to the learning so they'll give a better effort so their performance will be improved.
Our next question is from Julie Crane of Monitor Elementary.
Dr. Rollins, I'm going to piggyback off of what soon-to-be Dr. Brown just said. The issue of our community's changing diversity is important to all of us because we are advocates for all children.
Yes.
As a child of an impoverished, dysfunctional upbringing, I've seen firsthand the hardships our children are facing at home and the layers of supports that those children are going to need to find success in not only our schools but in society. So how can Springdale's administrators ensure that teachers have the supports and the resources that they need to teach in order to meet the needs of these diverse populations?
I kept wanting her to say us and we, and she said you. Y'all. 71% of our population are children in poverty. Well over 50% of our children are children of diversity. I've never thought one day that demography means destiny. I've always thought if we do our work well, if we use the resources that we have, if we're really open-minded in how we go about it as opposed to closed-minded, if we're willing to be learners right along with our children, then we will find those additional pieces that are needed all along the way. There are so many pieces of that. We know the health of our children, the nutrition of our children, the safety of our children are all important elements that bring a child to a school, that gives them a chance to really work with a caring and loving and dedicated teacher to get at their ongoing learning. I think we've got to continue to grow that and embellish it. We all understand that the landscape is changing. When I use the term we're in a period of transition, we all have to take that to heart. And we have to use our voice and the voice of our patrons and our business leaders and our moms and dads to try to talk with policymakers about the need to continue to make our public schools the great priority. That's going to take some work. That's going to be a heavy lift, given the changes that are out there today. But I think the best foundation that we can stand on is just what you're doing now, just what each of you are doing. Through your great work, through your credibility, through your service to children, your voice matters immensely. I hope our voice matters immensely. So collectively, I think we have those conversations. We grow an environment that recognizes what Horace Mann really said. The public school is America's greatest invention. It's where we come together. It's where we learn to respect each other. It's where equality is given definition. It's in the public school that the future of America lies.
Dr. Rollins talked earlier about building bridges, not walls. And I'm going to ask for everyone in the audience to raise your hand if you've had at least one student who was born in another country. Mexico, El Salvador, the Marshall Islands. I want to introduce Edgar Morales this way. Edgar, you are what I hope for my own students at Jones, most of whom are born in Mexico or El Salvador, because Edgar was born in Mexico, not only became a teacher, but became a teacher in one of the greatest districts in the country. So I'm going to introduce Edgar Morales for his question.
Good morning. I'm Edgar Morales, and I'll be working at Helen Tyson Middle School. And so this, at their language academy this year. And so this summer, I attended the ESL Academy and learned that it is very beneficial for our ELLs to be exposed to their native academic language. So my question would be, is there a way we can accomplish this, or is there an alternative to it?
I really believe that we all have a role to encourage children to maintain their native language. We don't want them to lose their language. We don't want them to lose their culture. We just want to use that foundation to help them grow and develop. I'm satisfied that under this umbrella of we all have to be continuous learners. The kind of research that Edgar just referenced is not new research, really. It's research that we've been aware of a long time. And again, as I shared Dr. Bridgeforth's comments this morning, anything that we can do to help those children to go home and talk with their family and maintain their cultural and their native language is a wonderful thing. And then we have to help them transition to learning more and more and more about the English language and to acquire that as soon as possible. I'm satisfied that we can and will do pilots in the future to better see where this fits for us. We know that our state, by mandate, by law, is an ELL state. And so that's been our focus. And I think that focus as well has produced great results. Let me speak to the obvious things that you all know about our Hispanic children. They have a very strong family unit, and you saw that referenced with Ms. Baruso earlier today. When the family invests with our teachers in terms of a quality education for their kids, we have something really special going on. It was that hope that spawned the Springdale School District's Family Literacy Program, initiated by Springdale teachers, Springdale principals. A decade ago, we started in 3 schools. Today, we are on our way to being well established in 16 schools. That's beautiful progress. As a result of that, as you look at the 1,300 plus children who graduated from the Springdale School District this past year, let me share what our board members saw, what our community saw, and certainly what I saw as those graduates came across the stage. Those kids who are taking advantage of the rich curriculum in our district, whether it be concurrent credit, whether it be advanced placement, whether it be international baccalaureate, those are some of the highest performing children in our school system today. So as challenging, and I'm sure on certain days as frustrated as that experience might be, I want you to know what great work you're doing and how that is transferring to student achievement at the highest level. Our immigrant children are some of the highest performing children in our school district today because of great teachers and families working together and children buying into that process. If you saw that, give yourself a hand, please. Now let me close my response this way. I believe today we have 47 languages spoken in our school system. Those children bring that experiential, that language experience to our classes. So without question, we're going to have to find and continue to work and stretch to find the right model to serve those children. We've got a great foundation to build on, and we will find the experiences, what the research shares with us in terms of how to better serve them in the future. Thank you.
Got another question for the audience. Can you raise your hand if you have your own son or daughter in the Springdale schools or did previously? Our next panelist is a teacher, but also a dad. So I want to introduce John Stewart, also of Har-BER High, for his question.
Hold it just a minute. I'm having a little problem up here. How come the superintendent didn't get any applause? Now, come on, let's go. Okay, John.
Okay, Dr. Rollins. I've been fortunate enough to teach at both Springdale High School for 8 years and then Har-BER High School since 2005. And I've taught AP US history at both schools. And I've noticed over the last 10 years or so with our changing demographics in the community, for obvious reasons, there's been a push towards CTE classes, and for very good reason. My question as an AP teacher is, as a district, how are we going to continue to promote our highest achieving students and also our subpopulation students who want both ethnically and economically? How are we going to continue to promote them for those who want to go the university route?
A school system like ours, comprehensive by its very nature, comprehensive because of its size, the interest of our children and the families in terms of their hopes and dreams for each of those kids. You helped me because you helped build it. I believe today we have 27 advanced placement offerings in our district. And we're on our way, we're in the developmental process to add 2 others, taking us to 29 AP classes. So I think we're in an extremely strong and getting stronger position in terms of our advanced placement offerings. Now at the heart of it all, it's where I always start. We've got great teachers who want to serve in the advanced placement program. Great teachers even as they begin that teaching experience. But the wealth of that work and probably the greatness of our program will really turn on their ability to get appropriate training all along the way. None of us are finished practitioners. Our master teachers have to be learners right along with their kids. I know that our AP teachers would be the first to say, I need more training. I need more quality experience. I need more in-depth experience. And so I'm going to use you as an example. I know you offer yourself for additional training. You offer yourself to be a reader of AP exams. You work diligently so that you understand the curriculum guides, the intent behind each of those AP experiences. I know you look very closely at the children who come into the program. I know you prepare them for their testing. And I know our goal is to get more and more and more of our children scoring 3s, 4s, and 5s on the AP. So like anything else in our work, the more you can talk and converse with others just like yourself who are really diligently trying to serve our advanced program, even having that critical friend experience where you're playing off each other. I'll see it this way, you see it that way. We build our understanding and we're better prepared to serve our children. And then just in recent years, we've done some other things. We've added an academic coach. So how do we come alongside that academic coach who works closely with our teachers, with the parents, so that they understand these are the step-by-step processes that your child needs to consider as they work toward preparation in an advanced program. And then we've added some new technology, some new apps, some new tools. This Naviance program, I think, is really special because it helps demonstrate to every parent those steps and the timelines and so forth. So we're in a growth process. We're working hard at getting better, And our AP teachers are helping us lead the way, John. Thank you for your question and your modeling.
We've got another elementary teacher. This is Lisa Taylor of Shaw.
As a master economic teacher, I feel that financial literacy is extremely important for all of our students, K-12. How do we as a district prepare our students and equip them to be decision makers so they'll be able to compete globally?
Well, I'm just going to follow your lead. Probably not many of us have had the opportunity to be on the stage with, now Justin being another example, on the stage at the mic with the President of the United States. You have, and I'm so proud of you and the work that you've done. Teachers of the Springdale School District have made economic literacy a centerpiece of our educational program for years. We can't take that for granted. We've got to continue to build on it. Our kids love to compete. I know you know that. So things where they can be engaged, they can be on their feet, whether it be simulation of business practices, whether it be competing with other kids across the state and stock market competitions, whether they're really working on simulating the organization of a business and how to create a management plan and produce a product and make a profit. All of those kind of things are part and parcel to economic literacy. I want to see us to really pursue beyond personalization. I want us to give definition to entrepreneurship and again create opportunities for project-based learning that really are real and rigorous and relevant, because I believe that will better connect the children to the learning as well. So we'll think about that together. I would welcome the input of everyone in the staff, but we're a pre-K through 12 model. In the last several years, we've really seen our middle schools, our junior highs, our high schools come forward to share that economic literacy piece. And then we've been a part of the conversation and decision-making at the state level where we've seen academic courses built with continuity into our curriculum. So that's a good foundation to launch on. Now, what are we going to do in the year ahead to improve on that?
When I was a new teacher in 2004 to Springdale, the very first thing Dr. Rollins said to us was, it doesn't matter if a child comes from across the ocean or from next door. As soon as they walk through that door, they're our kids. So I want to use that frame as a way of introducing Yolanda Dye and her question from Springdale High School.
Thank you. Good morning. After recently attending an ESOL training, we discussed the idea of academic optimism and how important it is for the success of ELS. But as we talked more about it, I thought to myself, this is a philosophy that could work across the board for all students. So here's my question. Academic optimism centers around the idea that a teacher can teach even the most difficult students, build trusting relationships with those students and their parents, while emphasizing academics with high expectations as well. What can our district do to help instill or strengthen this powerful philosophy in all Springdale teachers to ensure the success of all Springdale students?
Beautiful question. My response is, quote, "You can do this, I will help you." If you look at all the work that John Hattie has done in his visible learning address of your work, the work of educators in the country, he talks about this piece as the number one indicator of influencing student achievement. The belief on the part of each of us, the belief on the part of you as their teacher, that first of all, I can teach this in a way that you'll get it, and then being able to instill in Ernesto the idea that I can learn this. And if you believe it, those children will be much more apt to believe it. And in time, they will believe it. And when we both believe it together, student performance will soar. I want to thank each of you for talking with me today and being a part of this conversation. In the days ahead, our commitment through our work, our collaboration, is to continue to try to get it right at higher and higher and higher levels. Justin, thank you for moderating.
Thank you, and I'd like to close with a story. About 10 years ago, there was a little kindergartner who got lost at Jones, and she wound up down in the second grade wing. And she was looking around, kind of scared, kind of bewildered. And this is one of those kids who looked like she came from some fairy tale realm. She had golden hair, this kind of light in her eyes, but she looked scared. And then she saw me, and her whole body relaxed, and she came up and she gave me a hug. And the reason I remember that story 10 years later is that she didn't know me, she didn't know anything about me, but she knew that I was a teacher. And in her mind, a teacher is someone you can trust to look after you when you're lost, or when you're afraid, or when you feel alone. And that trust our students give us is a gift, and it's our job every day to earn it. I want to thank Dr. Rollins before we let him go. I know he has a great mind. I think what Dr. Rollins and what all of us have done in this district is impossible, but we did it, to look at the demographic shifts and just the growth, and to not only have maintained excellence, but to become better every year is amazing. So he has a great mind. I don't think that's why we are the district we are. I think we're the district we are because he also has a great heart. And he doesn't see our students as numbers, he sees them as children. So Dr. Rollins, I just want to thank you on behalf of every child, every parent, every teacher, every little brother and sister for helping our students live the lives they dream. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, God.
Privilege to introduce today's first keynote speaker, Dr. James Rickabaugh. Dr. Rickabaugh serves as the Senior Advisor to the Institute for Personalized Learning. He is a member of the boards of the Wisconsin Education Business Roundtable and the Innovative School Network. He's also on the advisory board of the Midwest Comprehensive Center. Dr. Rickabaugh has been named Superintendent of the Year in 2 states. In 2008, he was Wisconsin Superintendent of the Year, and in 1996, he was Minnesota Superintendent of the Year. He received the Excellence in Educational Leadership Award in 2005 and a Lifetime Achievement Award for the Master Teacher in 2010. Dr. Rickabaugh has authored numerous books and articles relating to innovation and personalization of learning, and recently he wrote a series of articles on a tradition of innovation, where the Don Tyson School of Innovation was the backdrop for his series. At this time, will you please help me welcome Dr. James Rickabaugh.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Smith. It's great to be back in Springdale, especially on such an exciting time of the year and an exciting day like today. Over the years, this has always been my absolute favorite, so it's fabulous to be able to share it with you. In our time together today, what I'd like to do is explore with you the critical intersection at which we find teaching, learning, and education today. We have a system that was marvelously developed for an era that's past us. Yet it's difficult for people to imagine how it might be different. Still, our collective future, our economy, our society depends on us changing it and getting it right. And so I'd like to share with you this morning is a way of thinking about that, the urgency that it represents, a path we might take, and to end, by the way, with some things you can do starting day one with your learners to prepare them for what lies ahead. But let's start by looking back. If you think about it, there actually was a time when we could depend on what we know as being what we needed for a lifetime. In fact, Roland Barthes, a professor at Harvard, quoted as saying that learners who graduated from high school in the 1950s knew about 75% of what they needed to know for a lifetime. And even though today's graduates are far better educated, they probably know about 2%, which says a lot about how much they have to learn once they leave us. And it says a lot about what we need to spend time on now. If you think about it, there was actually a time when teachers were really sole source providers of academic information. They were the people that provided it. In fact, the only other real good sources people had were home, church, family, and school. That was it. Today, in 5 seconds, they can pull the knowledge of the world into their own smartphone or their own mobile device. There was a time when accumulating content was considered adequate for learning because it was difficult to get content elsewhere. I needed to know formulas. I needed to memorize a lot because I couldn't get it easily elsewhere. We could actually equip students with skills and tools they needed at the present, be confident they would last for a lifetime. Stefan Turnipseed, the former director of education for Lego Learning, says, in the future, our learners will be experiencing careers much like product cycles, that about every 5 to 7 years, they're going to have to relearn, not take a new position, a new career. That means relearning skills, content throughout their entire lifetime. And by the way, there was a time when we competed with the person next to us or down the street in the next community. Our learners today compete globally with people they'll never meet. The world I just described is the world of the 1890s. That's when the design of the schools we have was created. A lot's happened in the last 120 years. Now, the way we might think about this as a metaphor, some of you who've been around a while might recognize that picture. That is a typewriter. Now, the typewriter was an amazing technological invention in that it took what had been the purview of the professional printer and put it in the hands of the common person. Businesses, individuals, personally, could now produce professional-grade printing. And for decades, it served us fabulously. It was a staple of business and personal correspondence. But in the 80s, some people like Wang and others looked at this technology and said, I think we can do something more with it. And initially, some of that first iteration, some of you may remember this, was word processing. What a marvelous thing. That started to take this innovation we had, the skills that were part of typing, and now began to apply them in much more powerful ways. Now, today, we would not give someone a typewriter and expect them to produce at the level that they could produce even with a low-end laptop. In many ways, that's our schools. We have schools that look a lot like they did in the 30s, 40s, 50s in terms of our basic processes. Yet people expect that we're able to produce far more than that design was ever imagined to be able to produce. Now, I've made a sort of a bold statement about we've got design problems. What do I mean by that? Let me give you just 4 examples. We have a system in which time and instruction are held as constants rather than learning. But in a system that's supposed to be focused on learning, shouldn't time and instruction be the powerful variables that support it, rather than the other way around? In the assembly line that was the metaphor for this model. That made a lot of sense. It no longer does. There was a time when grouping by age rather than readiness seemed to make sense. The innovation of the day was assembly line. Why not group students by age? Except that in the average, by the way, the average learning readiness span in American schools is 3.5 grade levels or years. So even though we organize students as though we could teach them in a predictable way by virtue of the year of their birth, in every classroom, that's not so. It isn't what's true. It isn't happening that way. We allow students in the current design to experience cycles of failure and then try to remediate rather than provide real-time intervention, even when we know that real-time intervention is more effective, less expensive than waiting for a later remediation. But the assembly line, after which our schools were designed, initially allowed all the problems to go to the end of the line and to be fixed. Even though it even did the work for cars and other manufacturing processes in assembly lines either. And then ultimately, this idea of schools are really, if you think about most incentives, most sanctions in schools, they're around compliance. We want students to comply. Now, that remains important, except that in the world for which we're preparing them, the differentiator is going to be commitment, not whether they comply. Yet we have a system that's set up as though compliance is enough. So the challenge we have today, this is a serious one. We must prepare today's learners for jobs that do not exist, that require skills that have yet to be defined. In fact, estimates are that more than half of the jobs today's students will have don't yet exist. That is a significant challenge. But we do know some things about the jobs in the future that are important for us. And I'm sort of thinking about them in three big buckets. The first is jobs for which learners will apply that primarily require following direction. I apply, I get trained, I do the work. Those jobs will be around in the future. The problem is that skill set is not highly valued in the workplace. In fact, many employers see those kinds of jobs as overhead. They're constantly looking to automate them or offshore them or do something to reduce their costs. So while those jobs will exist, today's learners will need 3 of them just to support themselves, and they'll constantly be looking for a new one. There's a second category, jobs for which learners will apply, but they'll be hired for what they can learn, not for what they know. They'll need to get in the door, but if I'm hired for what I know, my first day on the job is I'm the biggest asset I'm going to be, the best asset I'm going to be. As work changes, as companies change, as technology advances, the separating factor is their ability to learn, not what they know. And then fourth, jobs for which learners will not apply. In fact, these are jobs they create. They see a niche, a possibility, an opening where they can create their own job. For today's learners, these likely will be the best jobs they ever have, whether they make a lot of money or a little money. Here's the problem. Our schools were designed to prepare learners to take the first set of jobs because at one time they did pay enough. They were stable enough. We do somewhat better on the second category, but for the most part, schools were never designed with the idea of producing graduates who saw their work as creating their own jobs. So here's our problem. We have a system that is designed for an agrarian, early industrial economy. We tried to make the system fit the knowledge economy. It worked somewhat. We were partially there. But now we face an innovation economy, demanding constant learning, new ideas, while relying on a system that's designed for compliance and predictability. Working harder doesn't get us there. So here's the answer. First of all, it is not more pressure, more accountability, more shame and blame. Not that pressure and accountability are part of life. But the answer lies and are working together to redesign a system that creates the capacity to meet that challenge. How do we get there? The answer, I think, is deceptively simple and obvious. And that is, we must utilize the most underutilized resource in most classrooms, the learner. The system we have designed is just to have them be compliant recipients, empty vessels to be filled, when in fact what they are the best resources for their own learning. They bring resources to the work. If we can engage them as co-creators, as co-planners, as co-investors in their learning, the world gets transformed. And our profession becomes far more satisfying and far more impactful. What do we know about this? Well, one is, all learning is in fact personal. It always has been. Going back to the days of Plato and Socrates, learning has always been personal. What we have is an industrial model that has been imposed on that system that led us to act as though instruction is all that, if we just do good instruction, learning will result. And that's true for many students. But that's not good enough. If we want all students to learn, we need to start with this sort of core design principle that all learning is personal. It is an autonomous, self-constructed, internal process, or intentional process. Here's a way to think about it. In fact, Dr. Rollins actually made a reference to this earlier today that I think is a powerful one. In our traditional system, the idea was teacher is expert. Teacher makes the decision. Teacher decides what work will be done, how it will be done, how well it will be done, then teaches that through standards and curriculum to the learner. The learner's job is to be ready to learn when the teacher's ready to teach. If the learner doesn't get it, we do the best we can to try and revise or backfill, but ultimately the last decision we make is, did the learner learn it? And we assign a grade based on that. In a redesigned system, it's much more side by side, saying, look, we're in this thing together. We're co-investors, co-creators, giving learners a much more active role in the process of their learning. After all, who is it for? It's for them. In this environment, when I press on you as a learner, it's because I see more in you, that I want learning to be the result. Here the idea is that the learner is their own best resource, and it's a resource we need to develop. In the end, in the new design, it's not teaching that counts the most, it's that learning, in fact, occurs. There's a wealth of research to support this, and it goes way beyond the time we have today. But what strikes me about this is when looked through the lens of what I just described, so much of what we have known about what works really works well. Many of the things we've struggled with research to try and find a way to implement in a classroom suddenly become a natural process in this framework. All right, so let me leave you with 5 things you can start with on Monday to help students begin making this transition as you are. These are sort of 5 strategies conveniently organized into the acronym POWER, powerful learners. The idea here is to develop learners who have capacity to learn, not just being good students, but be able to learn wherever they are, whenever it's necessary. So first piece, P for purpose. Purpose is a powerful driver of learning. Yet in our system, too often we default to answering the question, why do I have to learn this? It's on the test. When in fact, if we share with learners the current and long-term value of what we're asking them to learn, we now give them a reason to invest. Ownership. Giving students opportunities to make choices, to have a voice, to set goals for their learning can be a powerful way to begin to transfer this sort of perception of learning from students thinking that learning is what they do for adults, to either gain their praise or avoid their wrath, when in fact learning needs to have value for the learner. And the more we can position learners to be able to invest in their own learning, the more they take ownership for it. Now that's important because once they leave us, learning is a process often they're going to have to drive. And if they're doing it only to please others, they miss the main point. Number 3, wonder or curiosity. Giving students a thirst for learning, asking really provocative questions, avoiding pre-chewing and digesting the information before we give it to learners. Let them be a part of the process of understanding significance and context and connections. In a world that's rapidly changing, curiosity works much like radar. That is, constantly pinging what's going on in our environment to understand what we need to learn and where we need to change. And then 4, efficacy, coaching learners to understand that with good strategies and smart effort and using their resources, they can learn really difficult, challenging things. And for many students, they think if they try once and don't get it, they can't learn it. Nothing could be farther from the truth. And then 5, responsibility. Allowing students to make important decisions, meaningful decisions for them around their learning. Giving them opportunities to understand purpose and develop ownership, develop their curiosity, nurture that. And efficacy invites students to take responsibility so they want responsibility rather than shirking or waiting until we assign it to them. I know I've given you a lot in a little while, but what I've loved about this morning is I've heard that message from Dr. Rollins over and over. I know, and I've seen in your district, examples of exactly what I talked about this morning. So I wish you well. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your engagement this morning, and I wish you a great start to a new school year. Thank you.
That's right. Everybody stand up for a second, get loosened up, right? Take about 10 seconds here, 30-second break. Okay, back to your seats. It is time to hear from students. That's enough stretching. Time to sit down. Okay, let's find our seats again. One of the highlights. Thank you. One of the highlights every year of this meeting is our student entertainment. And so we're about to hear from our students. We've got some great student entertainment for you. We've got 3 different areas of entertainment. The first one are 2 students that are now at HAR-BER High School. One of them is William Gay. One of them is Felicity Rubio. She was at Southwest last year. And they're going to perform for you Quando, Quando, Quando.
Joy beyond compare. Tell me quando, quando, quando. Say it's me that you adore. And then, darling, tell me when. Hey, 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 hey. Every moment's a day. Every moment's a day. Every day seems a lifetime. Let me show you the way. Let me show you the way to a joy beyond compare. I can't wait a moment more. I can't wait a moment more. Tell me quando, quando, quando. Say it's me that you adore. And then, darling, tell me when. Oh, my darling, tell me when. And then, darling, tell me when. Oh, my darling, tell me when.
We have some talent in our district, don't we? That was really, really good. We're now going to watch a documentary of distinguished Springdale teachers and administrators who paint the canvas of the district's educational progress.
Hello, my name is Dr. Marcia Smith, and I'm the Secondary Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. In Springdale schools, our educational philosophy is all means all. Dr. Jim Rollins, Superintendent of Springdale Schools, leads our focus to dramatically improve student achievement and provide the best education for all students, whether the student comes to us from across the street or across the ocean. In Springdale schools, we use a model called the staircase to educational excellence. As Springdale educators, we work to ensure that every child is successful and learns at the highest levels. Each step in the staircase to educational excellence allows us to have a clear focus on our work. Starting with Teach Them All, students move up the steps to become innovation ready.
And to me, teaching them all means that no matter where kids come from or what challenges they might have in their lives, we help them not just learn to read and write and do math, but learn what they need to live the lives they dream. So to me, that means teaching creativity, collaboration, all those important things that don't always show up on tests, but really matter for success in college and in their life beyond that.
The ground is frozen and covered with ice.
I heard somebody talk about teachers as healers, and I think what we do goes way beyond just kind of teaching reading and writing and math. I think kids come to us and they have these deep needs. They need something from us or from school or from each other. And so I think the more that we're able to provide them and really see them as an entire human being, not just as a student, and see them in context of their families and their communities, the more they can thrive, not just in school, but in the years after they leave us.
Okay, so can you try that again?
It's not just kind of learning what we teach, but thinking a lot about who we teach.
Learning for All really is facilitated by creating a culture within your school. So when you start exploring the culture of your school and really emphasizing that culture of learning for all, that's when we're able to meet those needs of our learners. We employ a lot of assessment, not only of their learning, but for their learning, so that we are constantly monitoring their growth as a learner, and then we're able to meet in teams, we meet in professional learning communities to explore and discuss where each of our individual students are and where they need to be at this point in time. So we try to incorporate what the student needs, whether it's in their home life, everything that that child needs, coupled with where they are as a learner and their unique learning styles, and we try to put those all together. So we have to think outside of the box to be able to provide all those things for those learners.
Nice job. Good. You are getting really good.
I think in Springdale Public Schools we learn together in a lot of ways, but I am particularly passionate about our families that are learning together by participating in the Springdale Family Literacy Program.
We have over 10,000 English learners in the district, and many of their families come to school every day with their children in our family literacy program.
We learn together not only as adults together, but parent and child together, and the impact it's having is tremendous.
They sit right alongside their child and they do the same work that their children are doing. This helps them to understand how education works in the classroom, and they learn many strategies that they can then take home and use with their children at home.
I teach the parents ways to ask their children questions so that the answer, it's an open-ended question. So instead of, did you have a good day at school today? Yes. Tell me about your day at school today, where the child is having conversation with them.
I think learning together is very beneficial for families. It's important for the children to see that that education is important to their parents. When we help families learn how to learn together, they can not only learn together at school, but they can also learn together at home.
To me, graduation ready means that students understand the importance of lifelong learning and are ready to take that on.
Well, how does that look in our district right now?
You know, graduation requirements have changed so much, but our community, our society has really changed in that we want to see the skills the kids have. We want them to be able to see things. We want them to be able to do things like take on challenges, be able to communicate well. So I think it's changed a little bit from just the cut and dried number of credits to what kind of skills kids possess that they can use when they get out of high school.
And I know that when I was at Springdale High School and the implementation of our academy model, there was a lot of emphasis that began 15, 16 years ago on career ready as well as college ready. And I know that we've even ratcheted that up over the years in every arena that we're talking about, in every school, every conversation, our partnerships with our middle schools, our junior highs, and we're recognizing the credentialing opportunities for careers as well as the credentials to receive a diploma.
I was going to say with that skill ready, I think it's important that students know how to self-assess and to reflect, because once they self-assess and reflect, they're ready for graduation, because then they can reflect socially, emotionally, and cognitively as they go forward.
You know, in the past it was graduation ready is what do you, the term was what do you know? Now it's what can you do? It's that transition from high school to what you're going to do after high school. Yeah. College, career, whatever. And I think there's been more emphasis of credentials, of certificates, of vocation. It's not a endpoint, it's a stepping stone. And when you think about the term graduation ready, are you ready to graduate? Are you ready to take that next step to be successful after high school?
Career ready means that a student is confident when they enter the workforce, that they have the skills necessary to be successful. And at Springdale School District, we're able to do that in various ways through different programs of study, whether it be agri or engineering, building trades, family consumer sciences, medical or engineering.
All of our classes are performance-based, so the students are actually doing specific tasks. It's a very hands-on atmosphere. Besides passing all the written exams, there is a component of the performance-based side of it which they have to complete in order to get their credentials.
We have what's called a JAG program, which is Jobs for Arkansas Graduates, that takes students in the classroom and then helps them find a job, and then they're able to take those classroom experiences and put them into real life. I mean, we all learn best by doing, and that's great when students are able to do that and then learn from community members. So it's not just in the classroom, it's a partnership with our community, which is really important in Springdale School District.
College ready means that the students have prepared themselves for college from the very beginning of their education journey.
Well, I think it infers this idea of being able to leave high school and go to college seamlessly without the stress or anxiety or lack of preparation to make it in the freshman college level classes.
We talk to them a lot about what their next steps are and about what their goals are in the IB program specifically. Very much a college-ready program. The classes themselves are modeled much more after a college program. The assessments are large assessments that require time and planning and thought beforehand.
You know, students who have done a significant amount of research are certainly more college-ready than the students who haven't done that.
These students are going on and getting a career. And that's what we here at Springdale School District, we want. We want to develop students who can go to college and be successful in college.
Competition ready means that students are having the opportunity to have real life scenarios where they can apply the skills that they are learning. And this really helps them to see what their life after high school is going to be.
For Springdale schools to be competition ready, we really need students that are ready to enter the 21st century workplace. So they need communication skills, collaboration skills, they need to be creative, and they need to be good critical thinkers.
You benefit from being competition ready by putting yourself in real life scenarios. So that way, life after high school, you've already been in some of those situations. It really helps you to step out of the public school system ready to take on the challenges in this 21st century workforce.
Being innovation ready means that the students are adaptable, that they're able to sit down, problem solve, work in a group, figure out how to meet their own needs, figure out how to learn for themselves. So you combo that with innovative resources, and we're really preparing them for a future that we don't even know what it's going to be, but they're going to have all of the skills that they need in order to be successful.
Our kids are going forward. They're taking new steps every day to really try and change the model. They're learning at a flexible pace. They're making career-focused choices. They're really learning about what all their options are after they graduate. More importantly, they're learning how to work as a team. They're learning how to live in today's environment. I think that's all of our goal.
East is a great class because it gives students the opportunity to learn skills in teamwork, self-direction, problem solving. It gives them the opportunity to learn how to learn. There's a lot of cognitive elements to it.
I think our students have to be innovative. You know, the world in front of them is changing so fast. To be innovative, they have to be ready. That means they have to have the academic skills. They've got to have the character skills, the executive skills. And then they've got to have a mindset to really apply what they've learned in the classroom. So to be innovative in today's market is critical.
Springdale administrators, teachers, and staff, as you move forward this school year with your work to achieve educational excellence, lead with a purpose and a clear focus. Remember, all means all, and our students deserve our very best.
I would be remiss if we didn't congratulate Trent Jones from the District TV Department for putting that together. Did he do a great job? Okay, what's the hottest show out there on Broadway? Hamilton. Okay, you're going to see something from Hamilton. You're going to enjoy this. This is a group that was all at George Junior High last year. Some are still ninth graders there. Some have moved on to Springdale High School, and they are going to sing My Shot.
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'ma get a scholarship to King's College. I probably shouldn't brag, but dang, I'm amazed and astonished. The problem is I got a lot of brains with no polish. I gotta holler just to be heard with every word. I drop knowledge. I'm a diamond in the rough, a shining piece of coal, trying to reach my goal. My power of speech is unimpeachable. Only 19, but my mind is older. These New York City streets get colder. I shoulder every burden, every disadvantage I've learned to manage. I don't have a gun or branch. I walk these streets famished. The plan is to fan this spark into a flame. But dang, it's getting dark, so let me spell out the name. I am the A-L-E-X-A-N-D-E-R. We are meant to be a colony that runs independently. Meanwhile, Britain keeps spitting on us endlessly. Essentially, they tax us relentlessly. The King George turned around, runs a spending spree. He ain't never gonna set his ascendance free, so there will be a revolution in this century. Enter me, he says in parentheses. Don't be shocked when your history book mentions me. I will lay down my life if it sets us free. Eventually, you'll see my ascendancy, and I am not shot. I am not shot. You know, just like my country, I'm not scrappy. I'm not shot. I am not shot. I am not shot. You know, just like my country, I'm not shot. Take a shot. I dream of life without the monarchy. The unrest in France will lead to anarchy. Anarchy, how you say anarchy. When I fight, I make the other side panicky with my shot. You are my tailor's apprentice, and I got y'all knuckleheads and local parentis. I'm joining the rebellion, cause know it's my chance. Socially advance, instead of throwing some pants, I'm gonna take a shot. But we'll never be truly free until those in bondage have the same rights as you and me. You and I, do or die. Went to our stallion on a stallion with the 1st Black Battalion.
Genius is lower your voices, keep out of trouble, and you double your choices. I'm with you, but the situation is fraught. You've got to be carefully taught. If you talk, you're gonna get shot.
Bird, check what we got. Miss Lafayette, Hard Rock, I glance a lot. I think your parents look hot. Lawrence, I like you a lot. Let's touch a plot, blacker than the kettle, calling the pot. What are the odds that God would put us all on one spot? Popping a squat, unconventionalism, like it or not. A bunch of revolutionary men, you mission abolitionists. Give me your position, show me where the ammunition is. Am I talking too loud? Sometimes I get overexcited, shoot off at the mouth. I never had a group of friends before. I promise that I'll make y'all proud. Let's get this guy in front of a crowd. I am not doing my shots. I am not doing my shots. I'm just in my country. I'm not doing my shots. I am not doing my shots. I am not doing my shots. Rise up, tell your sister that she's gotta rise up. When are these colonies gonna rise up? 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 Rise up.
I imagine death so much it feels more like a memory.
When's it gonna get me? In my sleep, 7 feet ahead of me. If I see it coming, do I run or do I let it be? Is it like a beat without a melody? See, I never thought I'd live past 20. Where I come from, some get half as many. Ask anybody why we're living fast and we laugh. Reach for the flask, we have to make this moment last. That's plenty, scratch that. This is not a moment, it's the movement. We're all the hungriest brothers with something to prove when foes oppose us and we take an honest stand. We roll like Moses, claiming our promised land. And if we win our independence, is that a guarantee of freedom for our descendants? Or will the blood we shed begin an endless cycle of vengeance and death with no defendants? I know the action in the street is exciting, but Jesus, between all the bleeding and fighting, I've been reading and writing. We need to handle our financial situation. Are we a nation of states? What's the state of our nation? I'm past patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrows. For the first time, I'm thinking past tomorrow. It's time to take a shot. Rise up. It's time to take a shot. It's time to take a shot. Take a shot, shot. Hey yo, it's time to take a shot. Time to take a shot. And I am not throwing away my shot.
Thank you.
Wow. Woo-hoo! Oh my. And I'm going to follow that. Woo! They were incredible. But I'm here to tell you that if our kids are going to get their shot, then we have to make sure that every one of them can read and that every one of them can access that information. Yeah, let's hear about that. Here in Springdale, we have an initiative called Springdale Reads, and we've been really busy. You've been really busy lately. Some of the things that we've been doing this summer, we have had folks who've loaded up their bookmobiles, their personal cars, and they've taken the books out to the kids. We've had schools who've left their libraries open this summer so kids can come in and access the books. In partnership with one community, we have taken literally reading to sit out under a tree and read with families, with children, in 2 different languages, sometimes 3 different languages. We have been busy, and it's important for our kids. The vision of Springdale Reads is for Springdale to be known as a community of readers, and we're working on that. Some of the things that you've seen is you've seen our billboards around town. You have seen a hashtag Springdale Reads. So what we're asking you to do is to help us. Ask our parents, take pictures of their children reading, and if they'll post them to social media at hashtag Springdale Reads, they might find their children on one of our electronic billboards as we work through that. In another partnership with the Tyson Corporation on July 22nd, not only did we feed 1,200 employees of Tyson that day, but we also gave every school-aged child a backpack with school supplies and, from Springdale Reads, a book. Every child got a book. And the little ones who were there, who are not even school-age yet, we gave them a book too. It's important.
We talk to the children. Amen. Amen. And I want you to know, I've got my plastic bag here full of books. I've got my reading. My Lucy Calkins book would not fit in the bag, so it's in my car. But we have to model that. As adults, we need to talk about what are we reading. Talk about that with the teens, with the tweens, with the children, with the little ones. It is important, folks. Springdale has to read. If we're going to give our kids that shot, they have to be able to read. In order for us to be able to develop that culture of literacy, we also have to have a strong literacy program in our schools. And we've been working on that too. The elementary folks began in the spring talking and learning about a different way of teaching reading. And we're rolling that into the middle schools this fall. In our junior highs and high schools, we're talking about building that culture of literacy. Because see, literacy, reading is a social thing. Something that we all need to talk about. What are we reading? What are we learning right now? Well, we have been very blessed in this district to have someone whom I consider a guru in reading to help us learn about that and help us roll that out. She has been a teacher in Springdale. She's been an instructional facilitator here in Springdale, and we are so very blessed to have her. So let me introduce to you my reading guru, Charlene Horner.
Good morning to everyone. I'm here to discuss some ways we can all participate in this move forward toward our vision of creating a community of readers in Springdale. Specifically, I want to discuss how we will create a new and supportive culture of reading and how we, as educators in Springdale, will have the support and training to be part of this important change initiative. As you all know, when reforming anything, you need to approach the process by establishing a big vision, one that you can imagine the year ahead, and then put in the place, the people, the process, and the structures that will provide a lasting infrastructure to support a big vision. Dr. Morledge has just explained many of the strategies that we are beginning to put in place across our community. Working with Tyson Foods to provide food, backpacks, schools, supplies, and books to every school-age child in Springdale. Working to socialize reading by publicizing Springdale Reads campaign. Working to stop the summer slide by putting books in our kids' hands all summer long. And working to provide rich reading experiences for our children and their families throughout the entire summer. Now we've come to another key strategy that we are working on to reach our vision. We are currently implementing a new reading model in grades kindergarten through 7th. The model is called Reading Workshop. Workshops, by definition, are places in which you are engaged in continual assessment. The Reading Workshop approach to instruction is designed to support personalized learning. A one-size-fits-all approach does not match the realities of our classrooms or the schools in which we work, nor does it produce the 21st century learner that is skillful, versatile, and engaged. The instruction that happens inside the workshop classroom at any given time is tailored to the student or the small group of students sitting in front of their teacher. The structures of workshop teaching calls for teachers to adapt a responsive stance to instruction, taking cues from their children, and planning instruction that articulates next steps and goals. Continual assessment undergirds this work on a daily basis in a workshop classroom. To do this with success, it is important that we create awareness. Like Dr. Morledge has discussed, we need to then implement the appropriate actions, and ultimately, we will create the cultures of literacy across all of our schools in our district, pre-K through 12th. As we strive to create this culture we desire, we have utilized prominent research in the field of literacy. Don Murray and Richard Allington are both respected academic authors and researchers who have intensely studied the essentials of literary success. In studying writers, Don Murray concludes writers need 3 things to thrive: time, choice, and response. Closely related to Murray's thinking and more specific to readers, Richard Allington suggests or argues that readers need 3 conditions to thrive. First, access to books they find fascinating. Second, protected time to read. Third, expert instruction. He also stresses that to make real reading progress, readers need all 3 conditions to survive or thrive. Emphasis on only 1 or 2 of these conditions is not sufficient. No matter how expert your instruction, if your kids do not get enough time to read or don't have enough books to read, they will not progress. In the same way, if you have lots of books, but no one teaches them competently or confers with them about their reading or introduces them to the new challenges or guides the work they do, they will not maximize the potential as a reader. Neither untouched independent reading nor expert teacher talk alone will adequately grow a reader's skill level. Let's talk more in detail about Allington's 3 conditions. Access to books. It's interesting to note that research argues that just providing access to books is not nearly enough. We must provide access to books our kids find fascinating. This confirms that mentorship matters when we talk about providing access to books our readers find fascinating. We must demonstrate to our students what it means to personally live a richly literate life and work to socialize reading with our kids, our staff, and our community. It makes sense. How will we know what is fascinating and interesting to our students without talking to them? When we talk about books with our kids, we learn more about them. But this should not fall solely on the shoulders of the reading teacher. This is the responsibility of the entire school community. I encourage all of us to work to make our classrooms, our school, and our district, and our community places where reading is social. The second condition, Allington argues, is protected time to read. This means examining schedules to make sure students are getting enough time to read. Since January of last year, many of our schools have examined or beginning to examine how much time their kids will get to have eyes on print every day this year. This is a tough chore given all the competing demands on everyone's time. Donalyn Miller, teacher and author of the book Whisper, likens this situation to learning a sport or an instrument. Coaches, you know the value of practicing on the field. Band directors, you know the value of practice time. The only way to get better at something is to practice doing it. Not to mention the mountain of research that supports the notion that teachers who successfully teach reading also provide their students with a substantial amount of time for actually reading. So if we truly value improvement in reading, then the condition of protected time to read will be reflected in how we devise our schedules that will benefit our students, our teachers, and our parents and our community. In the past, we might have provided kids with long blocks of time with eyes on print, where students were inching their way through the same text at the same pace, and answering the same questions every single day. This one-size-fits-all approach might have been considered great instruction at one time, but it contradicts everything we know about effective teaching. Kids need massive amounts of practice with books that allow them to do a high volume of high-success reading. As we work to build our cultures of literacy across our schools and our district, we are working to make sure our schools are places where kids thrive as readers. Providing access to interesting and useful books and materials, clearing the time and space so our children can learn to read by reading. Now on to Allington's third condition, expert instruction. Above all, good teachers matter. Fortunately, our school board and our district leadership recognize the importance of developing teachers' abilities by providing professional development and collaborative cultures where teachers are engaged in a persistent cycle of teaching, observing the results of the teaching, and then responding thoughtfully to what they see. Across our district, we have been building that infrastructure for good professional development within our professional learning communities for several years now. These structures have brought teachers together to study and learn from each other. The process of continuous improvement is a secret to success. In grades kindergarten through 7th, not only are we implementing reading workshop, but we will be leaning on and adapting our instruction to the reading units of study authored by Lucy Calkins and her colleagues. Lucy Calkins is the founding director of the Teachers College of Reading Writing Project at Columbia University. This project is a research and staff development organization. For more than 30 years, the project has been both a think tank, developing teaching methods that are transferable to all content areas, and a provider of professional development to schools across our districts, across our globe. It comes with no surprise the reading units of study have been designed to provide teachers with curricular support and professional development, which has been built on decades of teaching and research. We can do this, Springdale. The work ahead will be hard, but you are not alone. During times of change, there is nowhere more important than being part of a community of colleagues working together on something that feels meaningful. Hang on, Springdale. This initiative is not business as usual. This initiative will do more for our district than help our kids become avid, skilled readers, but also help our kids become lifelong thinkers, writers, and inquirers. This initiative will lift the level of professional learning communities, invigorate and revitalize our schools, help our teachers develop stronger teaching methods, and create new and more powerful relationships between teachers and kids and staff as a whole. The people, the process, and the structure of building reform in our schools' infrastructure is being done across our district. This work is developing the big vision for the innovations that our schools, our district, and our community will tackle this year and years ahead. Springdale will become a community of readers. We will need to work together. And remind ourselves often, this initiative is about our kids. This initiative will build on our teachers and our school's strengths. This initiative is not an experiment or a pilot program, because that would suggest this approach to teaching reading was untested. This initiative requires a long-term commitment And finally, we are all committed to this initiative. All means all. Springdale reads. Thank you.
I wish that I knew how to do a backflip like you saw earlier, because that would be entertaining on many levels. I'm Megan Slocum, and I'm Associate Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, and get to work with the people you just heard from, which is amazing. I don't know if everyone knows this, but if you can and you're able to look up to that box at the top at the back of the room, there are some people there. Stephen, can you give a wave? Let's give Stephen a hand for the sound today. Mr. Trent Jones is not in here. He's running the live feed, and he is next door. He has been working hard, and you've probably been seeing him running around. And also Mr. Chris Buttons, can you step out for a second? That was it. He did a backflip before he waved. You missed that part. And also, finally, last but not least, we have Miss Missy Martinez and Mr. Paul Miller in the back running technology. And I would say we'd probably get the same from them, which is a quick wave. They've worked a lot of hours and worked really hard to put together a great program for you today, along with Dr. Rollins and the team, so I hope that you've enjoyed some of the things we've had planned. We have an amazing speaker for you next. He has been a friend of mine for a long time, since I was a very little girl, and my dad was a band director and he was a band director. But since then, he's become famous, which is great. Is he behind me? Yeah. So his name is Mr. Harry Dickens, and I want to tell you a little bit about him. He is an account executive for Edgenuity. He also is a consultant and a driver for instructional leadership and instructional technology in the state of Arkansas and beyond the state of Arkansas. He works and helps with several countries, including Mexico, Brazil, and is world-renowned for some of the books that he's written as an author. Most importantly, and most noted, I would say, that he still resides in the state of Arkansas, which is amazing. And he also has a wife of 30 years who's managed to suffer through him for that time, and two wonderful sons, one who is at Texas A&M and one who is a junior at Texarkana High School. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Harry Dickens.
How y'all doing? So I'm kind of loud. That's good. Yay. That's my band director voice. I taught band for several years. I met your Springdale High School band director back there. Pretty cool dude. Yeah. And I knew a band director that was here for a long time, Pat Ellerson. An amazing lady, a trailblazer. When we go to Allstate, I just sit there in awe and watch the Springdale students as they file up on stage and get all the first chairs. That was really hard, y'all. That was really hard. But I was so glad, and I learned so much. And she and my mentor, our band director that was there in Texarkana, they were real good friends, and I learned so much from them as a band director, which brought me into technology. I don't know how that happened. Brought me into technology, but I've learned so much, and so many things that we do in the band hall work in the classroom, which is really cool. It makes me so honored. When I was back teaching my first and second year in El Dorado, My classroom was a model pet room. How many folks remember pet? Yeah, my room was one of those pet classrooms. People come line up along the back and watch me teach with the kids and talk about our objectives. It was really cool. Wow, it's so cool to be in Springdale, Arkansas. This is cool. And Dr. Rollins and Dr. Megan, I call her Dr. Megan. So that age, when her dad was a band director, known her a long time. It is so cool being here. Thank y'all for the opportunity. I've been blessed to do so many things in my life. I'm glad you said that earlier. When he said God, I just started shaking over there because he's really big in my life too. I get to do this on Sunday mornings. I get to get on stage and talk to people. If there's anyone who needs to get married this morning, come on up. I can take care of that right now, okay? We can go ahead and knock that one out. Hey, make it a little cheap one on you. So you got the stage right here. Hey, I know it. So the big question that Dr. Slocum sent me was, who's in charge of thinking curriculum? Well, doggone, the kids are. The kids are. They have to do the thinking. And Dr. Rollins mentioned one of my teachers. Like I said, I've been really blessed. Dr. John Hattie was one of my teachers. So I was actually sitting in Thousand Oaks, California, and he was on stage talking to us. There were only 15 of us that actually get to teach and are trained to do his work in the country. So I get to work with folks around the country as well as Canada and some other parts of the world. I'm trying to get to Dubai, but they hadn't given me that opportunity yet. So that's my next one right there. I'm working on that really hard. We try to engage our students. That's the big thing. We want to engage our students. I've heard so many people talk about that earlier, and we want them to take responsibility for their learning. Taking responsibility for their learning is a major thing. And now, it worked. It's all digital. We use a lot of paper. One thing that I've worked with several districts in Arkansas with was, how can we use less paper? That was our success criteria for the year. If we can just use less paper and get our scores to go up, we'll be doing great. So using less paper was one of our things that we had to go digital. So I've worked with some schools on that. We have to teach students how to use digital tools. So in most of my sessions when I'm actually teaching, I say, okay, everybody get out your phone because you're going to take some notes, okay? I'm going to give you some tools that I use all the time with the kids. I get to go in classrooms and work with kids. That is the coolest thing in the world, to go in the classroom. I get the lesson plan prior and get to go in and work with those kids and bring that technology and infuse it in the classroom. That has been a blessing that I've had the opportunity to do for the last 10 years, where I get to go in a kindergarten classroom and just help teach. That is a wonderful thing to do. So we have to get our kids thinking digital, and we have to use digital tools to actually get that to happen. If you're on Twitter or if you're on Facebook, I know a lot of folks have sent some tweets out already because I've been watching them on my phone. If you're on Twitter, follow this guy in Hot Springs, Arkansas. His name is Stoney Evans. He's a media specialist there at the high school. You know Stoney. You know what? That happened to me one time in Georgia. I was on stage and I was with all the teachers in that county, whatever county that is, and their teachers were out there. And I said, I'm from Prescott, Arkansas. And somebody in the back said, woohoo, I am too. I was like, what? Yes! That is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, I get excited. So you can tell that I get excited. This is how I act in the classroom too. So we have so much fun when I'm in the classroom because the kids don't know what's coming next. And the teacher doesn't either. And so they're like, oh my God, what have I got to do now? What have I got to do now? So when I look at this slide, thinking curriculum is one which involves learners to actively think. And what that means is I don't want to get any answers or I don't know answers. How many have teenagers? Don't you hate when you get those and those does or I don't know? I've worked with a school down in Australia, and it was really cool. The kids never came back and said duh or. They told us what their learning was about. They were able to talk to us about their learning. So we want to keep our kids actively engaged. I heard somebody say that earlier. We have to keep them actively engaged in the learning at all times, which is very important. So my thing is I use digital tools to do that. This kid right here in this next slide, they're to carry out tasks that require higher order thinking skills. Oh my goodness, higher thinking skills. So we have to do all that Bloom's taxonomy stuff. We have to talk about students being engaged in their learning, self-testing, self-grading, all those things that let growth go by years. I was looking at one of our big ones that I talk about when I'm out with the visible learning piece. I talk about feedback and what that feedback, who's that feedback actually for? It's actually for me as the teacher, so I can actually teach better. So it's not for the kids to get feedback, it's for them, for me to learn on teaching them better. Is that right? Teaching them better, that's my goal. So they have to practice a craft. We have to create. So I have to give examples. I was in a classroom, we were talking about gravity. And in my car, if you saw my car, and if you're a police officer, you'd probably take me to jail. Because I have some strange equipment in my car. I keep green screens in my car. I keep a 3D printer in my car. I have a video camera in my car. But the reason I do those things is because I like to teach on the fly. And so we were talking about gravity one day, and I had a couple of green screens, and I had the students do their work. And then I said, okay, now you have to produce something for me, because I like making movies. I've been making movies with my kids since they were little bitty. And so we make movies, and we make videos on everything, a lot of things that we learn. I say a lot of things that we learn. So the kids were talking about gravity, and so we had the first green screen. And of course, we had the moon in the background, right? And they were actually on the moon, they were talking. But I said, throw a second one in there. I want you to float. So they had to figure out how they were going to make themselves float. So we just dropped another little box in front of that first green screen, and we had them stand on the box. So they were floating on the moon, and they were talking about gravity without even thinking about it. So if we can get them engaged that way, where they're actually creating and letting me know what they know, oh my goodness. We just go to town when we do stuff like that. So that was one of my examples of using video in the classroom. Another friend of mine who teaches at Fort Smith Southside, her name is Aretha Ferguson. That is so cool. Aretha is a really good friend of mine, and have you seen some of the amazing things her kids do in class? They do some really, really cool video things. I've got actually one listed right there. I bet that camera's going crazy because I'm moving around. I just love it. I've got a short URL right there. If you check that one out, it's one of our students from last year actually producing his video on Julius Caesar. It is one of the coolest videos. But if you're sitting there, you're watching it, he has himself on camera 4 times, and he's singing a Delphic modal song, and it's music of that time, and actually talking about Julius Caesar and Brutus. So if you're like, what is he doing? Well, being a music person, I'm like, oh, I know what he's doing. He's doing 4-part harmony, and he's really showing us what he knows by creating a video. So if you get a chance, check out that link right there. Jot it down. Like I said, if you're in my class, and you're in my class right now, take some notes. This is a really good one right here. Check out that video right there, okay? So when I look at this right here, boom, there it goes. See that little fellow? He reminds me of my 16-year-old. My 16-year-old, he's always pretending he's somebody. Some days he comes in, he says, Daddy, I am an African today, and I'm going to teach you about this. And some days he comes in, I am this today, and he's been doing that forever. So my 16-year-old reminds me of this child right here. He's 16 now, and he plans things for me. He plans outings for me. He looks like that kid in motion. I'm looking at this child, but when you look at that child, what do you see? Do you see someone who's about to teach you something? That's how our learning intentions and our objectives have to be. They have to be just as visible or as plain as us seeing that child as a teacher. Because clear learning goals. Not having a kid going like, what in the world were they talking about? Remember those long objectives the learner will learn that and it should be clear as a bell. We see that kid looks like a teacher. Our learning intention should be just as clear as looking at this child right here on the screen. And Marzano says right there, we should provide clear learning goals, conduct direct instruction lessons, and use engaging strategies. That's in his new book, The Art and Science of Teaching. It is wonderful. I finished reading it before Dr. Slocum sent me the title. I said I had to read something to talk about, so I read a new book. That's my thing. So, what about that right there? Video is a new text. Video is a new text. When we think about it, there's so many things that we do now that we didn't do a long time ago, just like those jobs that are going to be here, we don't know what they are. Because when I started teaching, I thought I was going to be a band director for a long time, and that only lasted 12 years. And then I started teaching technology classes, and that only lasted so long. And then I started working with schools around the state, and that only lasted so long. And then I had a chance to go around the country, and then it started, oh my gosh. Things change. Here's a funny story. How many folks have teenagers again? How many of your teenagers have actually rolled down a window in a car? My 20-year-old, about 8 years ago, we're driving in the car. I had bought this little car so I could travel around the state. And that car had roll down windows. And so we're driving, and it's nice outside. I say, Harrison, let's roll down the windows. Harrison looks at me. Daddy, where's the button? He had never rolled a window down. So being the good dad I am, and being a lot like Jacob over here, the science man, he just looks like the science dude when I look at him, doesn't he? We took the car door apart so that he would know how that worked. That's the teacher in me. So many things that we do now are becoming video clips. In the work that I do with my company, a lot of our instruction is offered through video. It is the new language for a lot of our kids. So we have to get them in front of the camera, and we have to get them behind the camera. So this is something that's very powerful right here that Mark Anderson says. He says, video is the next text. It is so, so true. It is so true. The impact of short video is replacing so many things that we do in text. We should not only introduce video, but we should actually change things that we do to video. Because a lot of things like how to walk down the hallway or how to get to this place, we could just make a short video and they can actually watch it. We don't have to have a long instruction list on the wall on how to do things. I do that at church also with some of the programs that we use at church. I say, just make a short video for us. Don't just write that out, make a short video, because most of us can watch a video and get it the first time. Even scientists say that our brains want to talk. We want to talk. We don't want to just write things, so that's something else we can think about. Here's what Domino's Pizza says about it. If you're staying one step ahead of the game, this question should sound familiar to you, and the answer should always lead you back to the same place. We are supposed to be customer central. How many folks in here eat pizza? I'm probably going to be the only person that doesn't raise my hand. I don't eat pizza, so I don't get this. Did you know Domino's Pizza is 57 years old? Did you know at one time the only way you could order Domino's Pizza was either go in the store or call them on the telephone? How many ways can we order Domino's pizza now? Oh, look at that, I've got my phone. Oh, I could just, I could say, hey, Alexa, can you order me a pizza? Right? So we can do so many things so different now, but sometimes we tell our kids, I want you to write me a paper. And there's so many other ways they can show that they know what they know. So when I saw this a few days ago from their chief digital officer, he said, so are we a technology company that sells pizza? And kind of, they really are. They become a technology company because isn't there an emoji that you have on your phones now that you can order Domino's Pizza? Just think how Domino's has changed and how Springdale, as well as all districts around our country, have to transition into a new way of thinking when it comes to our kiddos in the classroom. I see somebody's downloaded the emoji right now. I totally understand. I wish I could order my Chinese food that way. So that's next. That's next. But I saw that statement by Domino's, and I said, you know what? I was sitting in the room. I was actually working on a presentation I've got to do in a couple of weeks, And how many folks use Post-it notes? We all use Post-it notes, right? So I took these Post-it notes and I took the Post-it note app and I turned my Post-it notes into a PowerPoint presentation. So I said, well, how can I use that in the classroom? Well, I want my young kids to blog, don't I? Why can't they just write what they want to say on a Post-it note and then I make that a blog post using those Post-it notes? I try to twist every app that I use. I've got about 3,000 apps on my computer. I'm serious, I have 3,000 apps on my computer. And I downloaded each and every one of them. I know what all of them do. I've watched them change. I've watched them, some of them that were really bad when they started, that have come to be really powerful apps. And I use them when I need them. So I was sitting there and I said, well, I can use the Post-it note app to do this. So guess what I did? That's what I did. So, digital tools for students to reflect on and document their learning. Wow, let me think. Oh boy, what's my favorite tool? When I see Dr. Slocum, when I saw her last year before the Apple, what are those things, the buds came out, she was so excited. You should have seen her. Oh, Harry, I've got mine on back order. I didn't tell her that I already had some. Yeah, I didn't tell her I already had a pair because I think they're the coolest things in the world. So I think about those tools that I use. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides that have tools that I think really engage kiddos. And they also engage me too, because I was talking a little while ago, I can't handle sitting down. I've got to move around. So here's some tools I use. I use Book Creator. The reason I use Book Creator is because it works on all devices now. In May, Book Creator became available for all devices. It used to be an Apple-only thing, and we could only create on the iPad. Now we can create them on a Chromebook. We just go to app.bookcreator.com. We can create a book, and we can put 40 books on our shelf for free. So check that one out. Creative Book Builder is another one I use. I use it on my iPad because it lets me, with those more advanced students, actually create a website that's actually a book. Really cool tool right there. iBook Author is my favorite. This is some books that are on my bookshelf. And actually, this one right here is one I created myself. I create books when I'm talking about learning or talking about teaching and learning. I was actually doing a book on, and I'll show it to you. There it is. This is one of my iBooks that I created that I accidentally sent to the iBook store. I'm serious. I was like, I was showing someone how to create one, and I accidentally sent it to the iBook store. And so if you go to iBooks and you search my name, guess what? That one pops up first. But what's so cool about it, I can go in there and update that book so I can actually go and update things. But what I wanted to say about why I like using these tools, because it makes my learning so authentic. I lived in Little Rock for 5 years. And so I wanted to work on something about Little Rock Central High School. Because when I drove up to Little Rock Central High School the first time, I started crying. Because I was so moved by just looking at that building and all the history behind it. I said, I know more about this building. So I found a 3D image of Central High School. You turn in my book, and you can actually turn to the door that Elizabeth Everett actually walked in, because she didn't go in the front door. She went in through the side door. So I was able to turn that building around so I could actually see the door that she walked in and talk about it. Then I have a picture of Elizabeth Everett right there. But behind that picture, I've got a conversation with me and her. That I was boohooing during our lunch. We were sitting and having lunch together, and I said, I just want to talk to you because you're in my bucket list. You are in my bucket list. And we had such a great conversation, and I had video, and I actually stripped the audio so I could actually put it inside the book that I was writing. But other things I did with that book, I also added some tools where I could actually ask people that were reading my book questions. So I added some questions inside my book. So I like using this with my students because we can actually add so many things to an interactive book that a hard copy book I can't do. With a hard copy, I can't do. So I really like using the book apps, especially those three that I talked about earlier, but iBooks being my favorite because I can do all kind of videos and also add those 3D images inside my book. So video, that's my big thing right there, video. I look at that, video creation. Explain Everything is the first app I load to my 8 iPads that I have. All 8 of my iPads have Explain Everything on it. So when I pick it up, I can actually use that. I know a lot, when I was the technology director in the school district in Texarkana, one thing was we received a grant and we were going to have all the classrooms with interactive whiteboards. Well, if this had been around when I did that, I would not have bought one interactive whiteboard, because I can have an iPad or anything, a mobile device, and have my own whiteboard in my hand and share with the kids. I'm going to show you how I use that with some kids, and we saw 60% growth in their math scores. Oh, it's cool. I would use this $4 app over any $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 whiteboard any other week, because I get to touch it and use things. I've been in classrooms where I've seen those pretty interactive whiteboards. There was one classroom in South Arkansas, I won't say the name of the school. There was a smart board right here, and there were tables that would not let the kids get close to it. So I said, why do you have that in your classroom? You're not using it, the kids aren't using it, so why you need it? But give me this little $5 app right here, and I can do so many things that I couldn't do on that whiteboard. So the way I used it with the kids in a math class, each kid had an iPad and they had to explain everything. So they had to talk to me the math problem. They had to work and talk it out. And they would go in corners and they'd get their little quiet corner and they'd actually work the problem. And they were so excited when their work was the exemplar in the classroom, because everybody could see each other's work and we could comment on it and do some really, really cool things. There's one that I don't have listed on here because it's so new, but it's the 2017 Cool Tech Tool of the Year, and it's called Flipgrid. Flipgrid. How many of you seen Flipgrid? Is it cool or what? It is awesome. You can do so many things with that one little tool right there. I mean, they gave me a list of things that you could do with Flipgrid. I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many things. Check out Flipgrid. It's free to use. They do have a paid side, but the free lets you do as much as you want to. So check that out. And I've used it with kindergarten kids. I used it a lot with my kindergartners last year, getting them talking more to me, and it was really neat. Check out that. Check that out. Stop motion, oh my gosh. Stop motion is the tool of the day. We did project-based learning in Texarkana last year with a lot of our schools, and most of the kids, when they had to do their presentation to show what they knew, they used stop motion video. They used stop motion. They would take pieces and make stop motion. We made stop motions of the weather. We made stop motions of the stock market. We did stop motions of so many different things, but stop motion was one of the tools that made my day with those kids. So check it out. Adobe Spark. One thing that I like to do when I travel around Arkansas, I like to look at school district web pages. And I've seen some really bad ones. I'm honest. There's some that are wonderful, that give you lots of good information, and there's some that will blind you if you look at them, because we believe in our school colors. I'm like, what in the world is this? This website right here, I think every classroom should look at Adobe Spark, or on the web, if you go to the web, it's spark.adobe.com, and check out some of those products that are on that page. Check out some of those web pages that can become book reports. Check out some of those videos that are awesome documentaries using Spark. When I've been watching video clips and from back to school things, I said, you know, if we could do that in Spark. I'm thinking about even changing my web page into a Spark page. I actually have a couple of QR codes right there for the folks that can see that with QR code, that you can actually see a couple of examples using Spark. Really, really neat stuff on this web page right here. Because I can use some of those high advanced Adobe Photoshops and things, but when I'm talking to kindergarten kids, you think I'm going to teach Photoshop? When I'm teaching 12th graders, I don't think I'm going to teach Photoshop either. It's a lot of work. But if I can find something that I can teach quickly and get the information out there seamlessly to the student, I'm going to use something like this. So check that out right there, spark.adobe.com. 3 awesome tools that should be the cool tool of 2018, if I'm not mistaken. It is a really cool tool. So, Mark Princey says that we have to become digital wise people. We don't have to know it all. They don't know it all, and we don't have to know it all. Dr. Rollins said it so eloquently earlier. He said, we have to be right there with the kids. We have to learn just as they're learning. We can't wait. We can't be the sage on the stage. Isn't that how we used to say it? I'm the sage on the stage. I remember when I first started teaching, I thought I knew it all, and I'd be there, and they just soaked it all. Didn't work. My first year was horrible. My superintendent said, boy, you need to go back to school. That first year was rough, and I wanted that critique because I needed it. I learned so much after that first year. I learned about student voice after that first year. I learned about those kindergarten kids who were coming in the first day, because this is something that wasn't taught in college. I had this child that was sitting at a table who was looking at his food, and he didn't know what to do because he had never used a fork. And he didn't know how to eat the food on his plate like the other kids. That's when you said we're in it for all of them. I was in it with that kid that entire year of his kindergarten year. Really, really appreciated being in that school, working with that kid, because it takes me back to a story when I was in school of this person who took time with me, and he taught me how to tie a tie. My elementary principal, he said, Harry, you need to learn to tie a tie. So in elementary school, I could learn to tie, and I was a lefty, and I couldn't do much of anything. So everything was backwards to me. And then that next year, somebody helped me tie my shoes because I couldn't tie shoes because I was a lefty. Then I go and I think about that person named Jim Warnick, who's a principal down in Alma. He was my first band director. He saw me in the office working as an office worker. He said, there's something better that you can do. I said, okay. Then I had all those other people. I had this one superintendent who challenged me because I think we should challenge everybody in our classroom. The superintendent challenged me one day. He said, I need you to create a product that will actually do this for our kids and we won't have to think about it. I said, okay, give me a weekend. He gave me a weekend, and I took all the information he gave me. I said, okay, I got it. I brought it back to him the following Monday, and I was able to share it with him. He said, you got it. So I was able to share that bit of learning that I learned for that to go do something else, which I was actually able to help about 100 districts in the state of Arkansas create this template that they needed, and I made a lot of money. I was like, this is cool. Now, if we can engage our kids to think on their own, they can do all kinds of things because, like you said earlier, the jobs that they're going to do in the future aren't there. The job I'm doing right now was not even there when I started teaching. So I've learned so much along the way, and I want digital tools to be a part of that for our kids. And when we teach, that's what I do all the time. I go in and I work with kids, I work with teachers, and I enjoy it thoroughly. I think that's the wave of the future. That's where personalized learning is. We have to be able to engage the kids in ways that we don't know how yet, like I heard earlier. We have to be able to do that. I'm thinking about that Domino's thing where there were only two ways to order pizza. We first saw Domino's 57 years ago, but 57 years later, there are 15 different ways we can order a pizza from Domino's. Thank y'all very much.
Before I introduce the final student entertainment, and then you're going to hear the grand finale from Dr. Rollins, I think you're going to enjoy that. I'll tell you, in the communications office, we use social media frequently, and if any of you all are new to the district, we do have several that are new to the district, please become friends with the Springdale Public Schools Facebook page. Just to give you an indication of the reach we have nearly 17,000 friends, the largest in any school district in Arkansas. And if you're on there, you'd find out, if you read yesterday, about Soja Swagel, who won the International Brain Bee. You saw that our own Dr. Megan Slocum was named the Administrator of the Year in the state of Arkansas. And those things we put up on a daily basis. Jackson's down here live tweeting this. I don't know if that's where our speaker saw the tweets or not, but he's doing this. So please become a friend of the Springdale Public School District. Last year, we had 83% more looks at our Facebook than we had the year before. We had over 4 million looks at our Facebook. Part of that is because we've encouraged you to share. And so when you see a story about a student in your school or one of your teachers or something in your school activity, please share that with your entire Facebook community, because we need to get the good words out. We need everybody to see what we've seen here today. What a great district this is to work in. We're going to see another entertainment, and then after that, Dr. Rollins will come up and conclude our time together. You know, this is the only time in the entire year where all of us are together. Pretty good time, isn't it, where we can all enjoy each other and see what a great team this is. We are now going to hear from a young lady who is going to be a 6th grader at Sonora Middle School. She has been at Turnbow Elementary, and her music teacher is Olga Trevino, who you've seen up here before. This young lady will perform How Far I'll Go, and this is Bella Raison.
I've been staring at the edge of the water long as I can remember, never really knowing why. I wish I could be the perfect daughter, but I come back to the water no matter how hard I try. Every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make, every road leads back to the place I know, where I cannot go, where I long to be. Where the sky meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know. If I go, there's just no telling how far I'll go. I know everybody on this island seems so happy on this island. Everything is by design. I know everybody on this island has a role on this island, so maybe I can roll with mine. I can lead with pride, I can make us strong. I'll be satisfied if I play along, but the voice inside sings a different song. What is wrong with me? See the light as it shines on the sea, it's blinding, but no one knows how deep it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, I'll know what's beyond that line. Will I cross that line? See the line to the sky, to the sea, it's me, and no one knows how far it goes. If the wind in my sail on the sea stays behind me, one day I'll know how far I'll go.
Oh my. Oh my, is that a wow? Why do we teach? Why do we teach? part of it is we get to spend time with great young people like we've seen here this morning, and to be a part of their lives and to help them realize the great potential and promise that is so evident this morning. I hope you've enjoyed our opening. There's a couple things I want you to enjoy as we close. So I asked the question, why do we teach? We've seen such great examples of Springdale teachers here this morning trying to shape our direction in their own way, trying to influence the culture. Those three most important words in education are relationships, relationships, relationships. I want you to see evidence of that as portrayed by Springdale teachers.
I think connecting to kids is important because in order for them to learn from you, they have to like you.
That's why I go to school. It's the relationship and it's the way I learn.
I like showing up every day and just, it's part of my family. We get together, we put together a plan, and we just go to work.
Once the kids realize it's not a me viewpoint, but a we viewpoint, they're more likely to help one another, more likely to look out for one another.
And the great thing is they hold each other accountable. You know, if they see someone struggling, they'll say, oh, can I help you with that?
Just to get to know them and they feel like, hey, you know, my teacher cares about me.
I'll show at their birthday party and I'll show up at their ball game. Knowing things about me and letting them into my world too makes me more human to them.
If I'm going to be pushing for them to be more physically active, then I want to be there to support them.
Just showing that interest in their life so that they know that they can do anything.
I'm invested in their lives for a year, and I feel that I would like to see them, you know, succeed.
I love graduation. I clear my whole phone so I can take as many selfies as I can with all my people.
I view my kids as my inspiration.
They're my teachers.
Yeah, they're my people.
They're my family.
You know, they see you outside your class, those relationships that you can build with those kids, and the blessing to be a teacher. Oh my gosh.
So could she?
Want to go?
Surprise.
Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Oh, I wrote you a letter. Mr. Chan, you are my favorite teacher of all time. There are so many things that you did that were fun in your class.
When I first met you, I knew that you were more than just a coach. I know you were going to be a good friend to me.
Thank you for understanding and helping me through my tough situations with school, friends, and home.
Guys, I wrote a letter for you.
Dear Miss Moore, there is no combination of words that could express how thankful I am for you. You have impacted my life. You, the most passionate person that I've ever met.
On the first day of school, I walked in and she was 4 feet tall, but little did I know she had a big personality.
Mr. Burkett's gone out of his way for me more times than I could count. I don't know how many times I've made him mad and he still treats me like I'm his son.
I enjoy learning from you. I will miss you going to your class.
Thank you, Mr. Chan, for being able to be there when I was struggling with outside of school problems. One thing I remember in your class was you telling us that there's no excuse in life, that you should make the best of it.
If I were to describe you to a stranger, I'd tell them that you are the embodiment of sunshine. Thank you, Mrs. Carranza, for being you and caring about me as your student.
Thank you for making me a better leader and being someone I can actually look up to.
You would always be kind to all of us, and I know that you would be a good coach to us.
You have given me so many gifts, but you, Miss Moore, are the greatest gift of all. Love, Amanda. Love you too.
Thank you so much. Love, Veronica.
How are you?
I'm good.
I love you. You know that.
Sure. Thank you. You all right? You okay?
I'm really not sure you can handle this closing, so you might want to really kind of buckle up a little bit. Trying to keep it together up here, folks. Okay. This will not be Hamilton, I can assure you. So, as you prepare for the greatest school year in our history, take a karaoke bus ride with our staff. Will you enjoy that?
We have everybody ready to go. Let's get the school year started.
Wait, there's one more person we have to pick up.
This feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. So don't stop. Under the lights when everything goes. Nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well you already know. It's just a magic. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance.
This is your team. We've got it. Looking forward to a great school year. Let's serve our kids. All right.
I can't stop the I can't stop the I can't stop the nothing I can see but you. Dance, dance, dance. Up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody leaving, so keep dancing. Everybody say.
Come on, join us. Jim, come on, join us. Right out front.
I got this feeling inside.
Go out there, show them how to dance out there.
It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it, moving so phenomenally. Come on, like the way we rock it, so don't stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide.
Have a great year.
Getting you close.
Good job, y'all. Good job. job.
Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Come on, all those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling, so just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't need control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that